Welcome to the Trust Factor Radio, bringing you interviews and insights to unlock the power of the subconscious mind to create authority, credibility, and trust. With your host, the Authority Architect, and best-selling author, Neil Howe.
Hello, welcome to the show. This is your host, Neil Howe, and today my special guest is Allan Dib. And Allan helps small business owners, and he takes them from confusion to clarity in marketing their businesses. Allan Dib is a serial entrepreneur. He's a rebellious marketer, technology expert, and #1 best-selling author. He has started, grown, and successfully exited multiple businesses in various industries. And Allan grew his business from startup to 4 years later being named by Business Review Weekly as one of Australia's fastest growing companies. His latest book, The One-Page Marketing Plan, is touted by many as the marketing Bible. He has sold over 150,000 copies, and it has held the #1 bestseller space on Amazon since publication in 2016. Allan Dib, welcome to the show.
Hey, Neil, pleasure to be on the show.
Well, I appreciate you being on, and it is quite remarkable that you have had a book at the #1 spot on Amazon for over 2, probably 3 years now going on. Obviously, there's something very special about that book, and I'm looking forward to just hearing everything about it, and obviously what else that you are doing to help business owners first. So first of all, give us a little bit more about yourself and your background, Allan, and then we'll get into exactly who it is that you help.
Yeah, so look, my background, I started life as a dead broke, business life as a dead broke IT geek. I was good at what I did, but I really didn't have a clue when it came to marketing or those sorts of things and how to get new clients. The few clients that I did have really loved the work that me and my business partner did, but we just didn't have enough of them, and that was a struggle for us for a very long time until we really sort of cracked the marketing code. And what I'm doing now is essentially helping small business owners crack their marketing code as well. So it's been a real privilege to go full circle to be someone who needed mentorship and needed help to now helping and mentoring other small businesses.
I say that all the time. There's so many businesses out there and so many people that are just very good at what they do, but if they don't know how to market their business, then there's a big, big problem. And, businesses have that problem from, the small solopreneurs all the way up to the big companies. They still have a problem with marketing, don't they?
Of course, yeah. It's a very big rock that a lot of people need to tackle, and a lot of them, they just don't know what to do. And I was certainly in that place. I was in a lot of confusion. I didn't know, how do I get a new client in? I would talk to people about branding and a lot of weird sort of concepts. I'd read books, I'd attend seminars, but there was nothing that really put everything into the one place, gave me a process to follow, and really, I wrote the book I wish I had when I was first learning. And I've assumed nothing with the book. I've assumed that people are starting from scratch, and even if you're not starting from scratch, even if you already got some experience with marketing and you know what you're doing. I think it can be very helpful to have a bit of a refresher and really try and understand a little bit better the big picture, and that's what I've tried to do with this book.
Well, certainly going through it, all the information in there is definitely stuff that I should be doing, but there's definitely information in there that I'm not taking action on. So tell us a little bit more about the book. Really, who it's for. Is it for the startup person, or is it for people that have been in business for a lot of years? Who's the target for the book, really?
Look, in my opinion, it's mainly for people who, it's fantastic for people who are starting out, because you can start out with an actual marketing plan. Who I had it in mind for was for people already running a business, and people who are kind of wondering what they're either doing really well and they want to get to the next level. So that's one group of people, or another group is perhaps struggling with, that they've got their product right. They know that people love their product or they love their service. They know it's a really good thing. It helps people, but now they want to get it out to a wider audience, and they just are having trouble breaking through that kind of almost in that invisible ceiling when it comes to marketing. So that they've tried social media, they've tried pay-per-click, they've tried these various bright, shiny objects and those sorts of things, and they're really having trouble breaking through and standing out from the crowd and kind of differentiating themselves. So that's really who I had in mind for the book. But certainly I know people who are starting brand new startups or brand new businesses, they've benefited tremendously from the book, and I hear from them all the time. And again, it's fantastic to start a business when you know, right, this is my plan, this is going to be my message, this is going to be my target market. And starting from that base is infinitely better than kind of having to struggle and learn that through trial and error like I did.
Mm-hmm. So what is the big overriding problem that most businesses have, do you see?
So the big overriding problem is they often do, and that's really why I titled the book that the one-page marketing plan. They start without a plan, right? So, and if you have a look at almost anything where the stakes are high, like flying a plane, like medical treatment, like a military operation, there's always a plan. Like when the stakes are high, pilots follow a flight plan, the military follow a military operations plan, a doctor follows a medical treatment plan. And so, it's interesting to really look into that and think, hey, hang on a second. Whenever the stakes are high, people follow a plan. And then conversely, you have a look when people mess up, you often see they didn't really have a plan, or they didn't really have a good plan. So when it comes to your marketing, having a plan is absolutely critical. And so a lot of people are kind of just following the bright, shiny object, they're looking at the latest trick or the latest tip and all of that sort of thing. And my view is if you can take a more planned approach, you're going to have dramatically better results. It's kind of like building a house. And like I'm now on the final leg of building a house. In fact, I'll be moving in a couple of days' time. So I've literally been through this process. You start with a blueprint, right? So you spend the first few months with the architect, you put together the blueprint, you say, okay, I want the pool here, I want the garage here, I want the lounge room to be this big and it's going to be here. Like if you just started doing tactical stuff like laying bricks or digging a foundation or whatever, it's going to be a disaster. The whole thing will cave in. And the same is true of your marketing. You really need to have that plan, that big picture, so that right, this is our message, this is our target market, this is what we're going to go to them with a value proposition, this is how we're going to sell the next version up or whatever it is. And when you've got that plan, you're not distracted by these crazy, bright, shiny objects like, every time someone comes out with a tip or trick and all of that sort of stuff. You're not distracted by that stuff. You just follow your plan. That doesn't mean you can't use new technology and all of that. Absolutely. We make use of technology extensively in our marketing, but the idea is that you have an overall blueprint and an overall plan, so you're going to come up with a much, much better end result.
Yeah, it sounds ludicrous when you put it that way, that you just start laying bricks without having a plan when you're building a house. But so many business people just, they get into business, they might fall into doing something. And why don't they have a plan? Why don't so many people, look at it like you just explained?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And I look at my own past experience. The reason I didn't have a plan was because I did. First of all, I didn't know how. Secondly of all, I thought it was going to be this thing that's going to be long and difficult and expensive to do. And for the most part, that was true. When you looked at marketing plans and business plans of the past, they were like 50 pages long and had charts and graphs. And I once employed a consultant to help me put together a business plan. It was this really long document, had charts, graphs, projections, all of those sorts of things. And, by the time it was done, I was a few $1,000s poorer. I shoved it in the top drawer of my desk and I never saw it again until we were moving offices and I was cleaning out all of the trash in my desk and in my office. So the point of the one-page marketing plan was to make it a living document, something you could literally pin up on the wall in your office or have sitting on your desk. And being a single page, it's easy to put together. And being a single page, it's easy to update whenever you've got new information or whenever your strategy changes. So it's something that's a living document that's going to be easy to do. So to answer your question, the reason that a lot of people don't have a marketing plan in place is either they didn't know how, or either they thought it was too difficult and too complex. And I believe I've solved both of those problems now by creating the one-page marketing plan process.
Very good. And talk to me, Alan, about the statistics when it comes to the success of a business. I know that upwards of 50% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. What kind of difference do you know with businesses that actually have a marketing plan based on the ones that don't?
Yeah, look, having a marketing plan is no guarantee that you're going to succeed, but it's certainly, if I'm lost somewhere, having a map doesn't guarantee that I'm going to find my way, but it's certainly going to help a lot, right? It's going to make a big difference to my probability of success. And so a lot of what I do with business owners is seeing how can we stack the probability of success in your favor. So how can we eliminate some of the big risks, and how can we add a higher probability that you're going to succeed and you're going to get to your destination safely? So part of the marketing planning process is absolutely critical. Once we've got a plan, we want to make sure that we execute on that plan. We want to make sure that we're not just coming up with some great ideas and then not doing anything about it. We want to make sure that we're actually executing on the marketing plan and doing something about it, right? Because at the end of the day, the rubber hits the road with implementation, and all of those things make a big difference. I kind of liken it to when people, if people are driving a car. If 50% or more of people who were driving a car ended up in fatal car crashes, I mean, there'd be riots in the streets. But we seem to accept that 50% or more of businesses just fail, and I don't accept that. And that's part of my mission to really help business owners, both with the marketing and their business, is to see how can we improve those odds rather than it being 50% or more businesses go out of business in the first few years. How can we dramatically increase those odds? And I think the planning process is one of the starting points. Of course, there's implementation, there's how you implement and getting your people strategy right and getting your tools and right and all of those sorts of things. But it all starts with planning. When I was first building my house, as I mentioned, I spent the first 6 months with my architect, with the council, planning it all out. Where are the garages going to go, and where's the pool going to go, and all of those sorts of things. So we spent a lot of time planning. And I walked into my architect's office and I started talking about tactical things. I started talking about, right, I want, a 6-car garage, I want a rooftop terrace and all of that. And he's like, whoa, hang on. He's like, tell me a little bit about your lifestyle. Do you have children? Do you entertain a lot? Let's look at where the land that you've got is positioned. And he looked at it and he said, look, it's a place that's very, very windy. It gets very hot in the summer. A rooftop terrace is going to be of almost no use to you. You've told me you don't entertain a lot. So again, that's probably another strike. And he was right. The blueprint that we came up with was very different to what I had initially envisioned, because I was thinking about tactical things where he was thinking about, okay, strategic things. So, do you entertain a lot? Do you have children? What's your lifestyle like? And so we built the house that's appropriate for my lifestyle rather than me coming up with features and benefits and the things that I thought I needed.
And that's the same with the business. You really need to take a step back, I think, sometimes, and look at actually what it is that you're trying to do and accomplish, rather than get caught up in the day-to-day working of the business as well.
Very much so.
Now, you've got a good friend, and it's a friend that I like a lot as well. It's Vilfredo Pareto. Talk to me about the Pareto principle, because that is extremely important. So many people just waste time doing stuff that is not going to make a difference in their business. But the 80-20 rule definitely applies to every business.
Yeah, so the 80-20 rule is all about, how can we maximize the impact of the things that we do. And, it's funny. The 80-20 rule, and I looked into it and I was amazed. It applies to far more things than just business. It applies to crops, it applies to car accidents, it applies to software bugs, it applies to almost anything. So with all those things, about 20% of the inputs create 80% of the outputs, or create 80% of the results. So how can we focus on that 20%? And then I looked into it further and I saw there was the 80-20 rule can be applied to itself. So you can apply 20% to 20%, and you can apply 80% to the 80%, and you come up with the 64-4 rule, which means basically that 4% of your inputs create 64% of your outputs. And that to me is incredibly exciting. What that means is that almost the vast majority of the things that I do make no difference. And if I focus more on that 4% stuff, that can make an incredible difference to my business. That's the difference between incremental growth to exponential growth, and really focusing in on that 4%. And from a business context, that 4% is very much around marketing, because in a business context, we could get 10% better at negotiation, or we could get 10% better at hiring, or we could get 10% better at almost anything in our business. But if you get 10% better at marketing, that can mean massive exponential growth in your business, and that can make a massive difference. So for me, the 4% that really makes the biggest difference in your business is really getting your marketing right and really focusing in on that, because a lot of the other stuff that we could get better in at business would be incremental in our development, whereas this can be exponential, give you real exponential growth.
And what in particular are those 4% activities, or the 20% activities, that make the difference in marketing? Is there any one thing especially that a business owner should concentrate on?
So you should especially concentrate on, first of all, planning out your marketing. So creating a comprehensive direct response marketing plan, and my book and my process will help you do that. The next thing is really getting 3 things right in your business. So the first thing are your tools, the tools that you're going to use. So that's things like your CRM system, your content management system, those sorts of things. Then you're going to want to concentrate on building your assets. And I talk about this a lot in my coaching program. I talk about building assets in your business, because income comes from assets. People in financial services understand this well. If you own a house, you can rent it out. If you own stocks, you can derive dividends. So income comes from assets, and the same is true of marketing. When you build marketing assets, you get lead flow, you get conversions. And so a lot of time that I spend in my coaching program is helping people build some of those marketing assets. And the third thing is processes. So processes are the things that you do from a marketing perspective on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. So how are you going to deploy those tools and assets on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? And that's really marketing implementation. And so that makes the biggest difference of anything that you can do in your business, because once you get more lead flow, once you get more clients, once you get more revenue, everything becomes infinitely easier in your business.
All right, Allan, well, let's dive into the book a little bit more and break down this one-page marketing plan. First of all, people can get a free download from you. Is that right? Where can they get that?
Yeah, so you can download a free copy of the one-page marketing plan canvas. You can grab that at successwise.com. So you can just right there on the homepage, you can grab a copy of the one-page marketing plan canvas there for free.
And it is very easy to look at. It's split into 3 different sections. Do you want to go over what some of those sections are and then take a little bit closer look at each one?
Yeah, for sure. So basically, we would spend hours if we went into each section in detail. But basically, the one-page marketing plan is split up into 3 major sections. The first is the before, the second is the during, and the third is the after. So before is before a prospect knows that you even exist, and so your goal is to kind of get noticed by the prospect. In the during phase, the prospect has indicated interest. So, and by indicated interest, that could be anything like clicking on a link that you've got, or clicking on an ad, or opting into your website, or calling your office, or any of those sorts of things. And in the during phase, they're already a customer, and we think about how do we create more value for them, and how do we actually do more business with them, and how do we get them to refer more business to us and create referrals. So they're the three broad sections of the one-page marketing plan. And then within those three broad sections, we have three minor sections within each one. So in the before phase, we talk about selecting your target market. We talk about crafting your message to that target market. And then we talk about reaching your prospects with advertising media. So that basically covers the before phase. In the during phase, we talk about capturing leads, nurturing those leads, and then converting those leads to becoming paying clients. And then in the after section, we talk about delivering a world-class experience, increasing customer lifetime value, and then orchestrating and stimulating referrals. So that's essentially those 9 steps make up the one-page marketing plan, and it's literally done in a single page in 9 blocks on that canvas.
So once people have this marketing plan, and obviously you can go through the book and you can read in depth about each section of that plan, but how helpful is it just to have that in your office so you can constantly look at every day to make sure that you're staying on track?
So basically, so the planning process in itself, so it's not so much the actual physical plan that's going to make the biggest difference for you, but it's you going through that planning process. So ending up with a document is really great, and having a visual reference, but it's really going through that planning process. So when you're going through block 1, you're going to be thinking about who's my target market, and so really thinking that through and thinking about who you're going to target, and then block number 2 is all about what message are you going to go out to that target market with, and again, that process is incredibly important, and that will make a very big difference to your end result. Because if you're going out with a very general message, it's just going to get lost, right? Because mass marketing is very, very expensive, and it doesn't work as well as it used to. So you want to go out to a very specific market with a very specific message, and have people say, "Hey, that's for me." So really, it's really going through the planning process that's the valuable thing. It's not necessarily just having that plan that's going to be giving you the value.
Okay, and when you look at the success that you've had with the book on Amazon, did you use the same marketing plan for this to get it to where it was, number 1, and stayed for so many years?
Very much so, very much so. So I used the one-page marketing plan process right now in my own business. I used it to launch the book. It's really, I invented the process, but I didn't invent direct response marketing. I basically took some of the best ideas I've seen in the world. I took some of the best ideas that I've seen my clients use and that I use, and I put those into the book. The planning process, the one-page marketing process, encompasses all of those things, but by no means am I saying I invented direct response marketing or any of those things, but I made the planning process very easy, and I made it very easy for you to be able to create a sophisticated direct response marketing plan in your business.
Well, getting the book is definitely going to be a lot of help to a lot of business owners, but you also do coaching with businesses as well. Tell me what kind of businesses that you really like to work with and how you can benefit them.
Sure. So I've got a couple of programs. I've got a program called Marketing in Business Academy, which is for startups and for smaller, like solo businesses. And then I've got my one-on-one coaching program, and the coaching program is really by application only, and if that's for businesses doing generally about 500,000 to 20 million in revenue. They really want to level up to the next level, and we work on a very intensive basis one-on-one, and that's why it's on an application only basis. But regardless of the programs, the best way to connect with us is to join our list, which is at successwise.com. You can do that, but just by opting in, and you'll find out more about both the Marketing and Business Academy and also about the one-on-one coaching program in there as well.
So, Allan, if somebody really wants your help, they are in business for a while, they've got a little bit of money behind them, but they just don't know, where they are. They're a little confused. What kind of difference does it make to them working with you, and what kind of outcomes have you seen?
Yeah, so I've seen some amazing outcomes. The key thing is, and this is with any coaching program, not just with mine, is to really understand that it's not the coaching that's going to make the difference. I mean, that's going to guide you, but you have to implement, right? You can't just show up to a coaching program, agree that it's all a good idea, and then do nothing and expect something positive to happen. So you get out of it what you put into it, or like anything in life, really. So the coaching program has been absolutely transformational for the vast majority of businesses I've worked with, and really it's all about implementation. So it's an implementation program. It's about how can we take your plan and make it reality and move people towards that next level that they want to get to.
Now, as far as the implementation part, what do you see is the biggest obstacle that holds people back from, even if they do have a marketing plan, putting it into process?
So the stuff that holds them back is things that are not having the right team members in place, and that's part of what we work on, the people strategy. Very often people have unrealistic expectations. So if someone thinks that they're going to blow up their business in 1 month or 2 months, that's generally rarely ever happens. So you need to allow realistic time, you need to allow realistic resources, and you need to be an implementer. And so those are the things that are going to make the biggest difference to you.
What do you see as some of the most common pitfalls or mistakes that businesses make early on?
Some of the most common pitfalls are thinking that the product or service is what's going to make the biggest difference. And of course, having a great product or service, it's important. You want to retain clients, you want to give them a great experience, but no one knows how good you are before they buy from you. They only know how good you are after they buy from you. Before they buy from you, they only know how good your marketing is. So to really have that mindset shift and understand that you're a marketer of what you do. You're not necessarily in the business of what you do, but you're in the business of marketing what you do. So having that mindset shift makes a very, very big difference.
Yeah, that is a huge thing, trying to get people to realize that, ultimately they're in the marketing business. And if they're good at that marketing business, then they're in the service business too.
Very much so. Very much so.
All right, Allan. Well, this has been very good. I've enjoyed your book immensely. It really paves a path for any business to look at, to make sure that they are doing the right things and they have a plan, they've got something to work on. Give us again your contact details, the best way for people to get in touch with you if they want to connect.
Yeah, the best way to connect is at successwise.com. Basically, opt in there. You'll get a lot of great resources. I have a newsletter which goes out weekly, and you'll get a lot of great marketing tips for free. You can download the one-page marketing plan canvas for free also. So that's probably the best way to connect. And of course, the book is available on Amazon and wherever books are sold, Barnes & Noble, bookstores, everywhere else.
Excellent stuff. Well, Allan Dib, thank you very much for being my guest on the Trust Factor Radio today.
It was a pleasure, Neil. Fantastic speaking to you.
And to our listening audience, if you like what you hear, hit that like button and share, and we'll see you next time on the show.
You've been listening to the Trust Factor Radio with Neil Howe. To learn about the resources mentioned in the show and to listen to past episodes, go to thetrustfactorradio.com. To get a copy of the book, The Trust Factor, go to thetrustfactorbook.com. If you are ready to act now and build your authority, credibility, and trust, schedule a consultation with Neil at theauthorityarchitect.com.